Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Raymond Yeung. Here are tonight's top stories. A woman who admitted killing her newborn baby has been put on probation. An unemployed man becomes the first person to be found guilty at trial of insulting the national anthem. And pedestrians have a narrow escape as concrete falls from a Mong Kok building for the second time in 4 days. A woman has been let off with 2 years of probation after admitting to killing her newborn daughter last year. High Court Judge Esther To concluded the case was a tragedy and urged society to raise awareness of the mental health of new mothers. After 16 months in remand at a psychiatric facility, Leung Ka-yi finally walked free. The 42-year-old company secretary was released from the High Court today, despite admitting to 1 count of infanticide. Under the Offences Against the Person Ordinance, the unusual charge only applies to a new mother whose balance of her mind was disturbed by the effect of either giving birth or lactation. Those convicted of infanticide face the same punishment as a person guilty of manslaughter. But High Court Judge Esther To decided on a lenient sentence. To described the case as a tragedy, noting Leung lost her father at a young age. She also spent years caring for her mother, who was diagnosed with dementia. Leung only became pregnant in 2021. 8 years after her marriage, and the premature birth of her daughter triggered anxiety issues and even suicidal thoughts. She feared that the baby, who was underweight, would not grow up. Then came that fateful morning in March last year, when Leung threw her 2-week-old infant off a footbridge in Chongqing. In mitigation, Leung hoped to raise awareness about the mental health of new mothers. To agreed and urged husbands to be extra alert for signs of postnatal depression. She sentenced Leung to a probation order of 2 years. A 27-year-old jobless man has become the first person in Hong Kong to be convicted of insulting the national anthem after a trial. Cheng Wing-chun was charged with the events which occurred 2 years ago. Back in July 2021, he had posted a video of fencer Edgar Cheung attending a medal ceremony at the Tokyo Olympics. Cheng modified the clip by dubbing the protest song Glory to Hong Kong over the Chinese anthem, March of the Volunteers. He denied disrespecting the anthem, saying he merely wanted to practice his video editing skills. But Eastern Magistrate Minnie Watt rejected the claim, saying his choice of the protest music was not a coincidence. Cheng was remanded pending sentencing in 2 weeks. A former student activist was among 4 men arrested by National Security Police on suspicion of aiding suspects who fled Hong Kong. Ivan Lam, the former chairman of the now-defunct group Demo Sisto, was taken away from an industrial building in Kwai Chung this evening. Lam and 3 other Demo Sisto members are accused of conspiracy to collude with foreign forces to endanger national security. Officers also raided a unit at Goldway Industrial Center on Wing Keen Road and seized boxes of evidence. It is believed the case is linked to the 8 activists who are now overseas and wanted by police. A pedestrian in Mong Kok has had a narrow escape when concrete fell to the ground from a building. It was the second such case since Sunday. Jenna So reports.
The buildings department deployed a drone in a bustling area of Mong Kok this morning to inspect the rooftop of the 15-story pole-on building. Firefighters at the scene used a turntable ladder for a closer look. The heightened activity came after concrete plummeted from the building near the junction of Mong Kok Road and Fa Yuen Street and fragmented. Police temporarily cordoned off all lanes of Mong Kok Road near Fa Yuen Street. This woman had a narrow escape as she crossed the road, sustaining only minor cuts on her legs when the concrete dropped just behind her. The concrete would have hit my head had I reached the spot 1 second later, she said. This woman, who lives nearby and passes the area every day, is worried about another round of falling concrete. There are too many tenement buildings in this area, she noted, suggesting that redevelopment be speeded up. 5 hours after the incident, scaffolding was erected around the building for renovation work. Just 4 days ago, a piece of a concrete canopy on the 15th floor fell onto a lorry parked below, injuring the driver. Police arrested a flat owner and the chairman of the building's owners' corporation on suspicion of allowing an object to fall from a height. Janice Low, HKIBC.
The buildings department has confirmed that the concrete that fell today and on Sunday was from the same unit on the 15th floor of Po-On building. The development minister has ordered buildings director Clarice Yu to follow up on structures that are required to undergo a mandatory inspection.
She should take stock of all the buildings with outstanding inspection notices and do a thorough inspection and see which are the cases warranting priority action by the department in terms of issuing enforcement notices, and also in terms of the department taking over some of the works as a matter of urgency and asking for reimbursement from the owners at a later stage.
Po-On building has not been inspected, despite being ordered to do so 9 years ago. The buildings department said the concrete that fell today might be due to a crack caused when a piece of a concrete canopy dropped on Sunday. The weather could also be a cause. It has set up scaffolding and a safety net and removed external plaster from the 15th floor of the building. Overseas, Israel has ended 2 days of deadly air and land attacks on the Palestinian city of Jenin. 12 Palestinians and an Israeli soldier were killed, and Jenin and its refugee camp suffered massive damage. Sachin Kabri reports.
Israeli soldiers have pulled out of Jenin, leaving grieving Palestinians to bury their loved ones. The first funeral for the 12 Palestinians killed in the Israeli land and air attack was for 17-year-old Majdi Yunus Araravi. At least 200 Palestinians were injured and scores arrested. Residents of the refugee camp in Jenin were coming to terms with the destruction caused by 2 days of Israeli raids. Power was being restored, but it will take a long time to rebuild the many homes that were flattened. Rubble and charred vehicles lined the streets. Children, who have been the most tragic victims of the attacks, had the small consolation of returning home and playing. Israel said it had launched the operation to seize arms, ammunition, and explosives. It released a video purporting to show explosives stored in a basement. Earlier, a hospital was hit by tear gas.
والذي بلغ ذروته مساء اليوم.
Palestinian Health Minister Mai al-Kaila accused Israel of deliberately targeting hospitals and medics. She also warned of a health crisis because water, electricity, and sewage infrastructure were destroyed. For the Palestinians of Jenin, survival was a victory in itself as Israeli troops retreated with 1 soldier dead. Israel then turned its attention to the Gaza Strip and launched airstrikes after rockets were fired into Israel. Sachin Katwi, HKIBC.
Monday was the world's hottest day since records began, as heat waves baked many parts of the world. A climate scientist warned that the milestone is a death sentence for people and ecosystems, unless governments act quickly. Azam Khan reports.
The average worldwide temperature on Monday was a record 17.01 degrees Celsius, according to the National Centers for Environmental Prediction. The previous high of 16.92 degrees occurred in August of 2016. Last month was Britain's hottest June ever, and unprecedented droughts and heat waves hit Spain and India. Canada has been battling wildfires for weeks. Sizzling temperatures worldwide underscored the dangers of climate change. Experts predict that there will be more frequent unusual heat waves.
This is not unexpected, unfortunately, but it is something that we really need to tackle twofold. Firstly, by stopping emitting predominantly carbon dioxide that is causing the problem, but also by accepting that this is a new reality and there will be extremes.
Another factor is the onset of El Niño, a natural, temporary, and occasional warming of part of the Pacific that shifts weather patterns across the globe.
Yes, it is occurring earlier than we would expect, and we would expect next year to be warmer still.
Shanghai, meanwhile, issued its first orange heat alert of the year. The second highest warning came amid expectations of the mercury soaring to 37 degrees. Azam Khan, HKIBC.
At least 15 people have been killed by floods in southwestern China. Another 4 people remain missing in Chongqing, where the deluge is said to be among the worst in the country. Rescue teams were sent to help residents reach safety. Seasonal floods hit large parts of China every year, particularly in the south, but some northern regions have reported the worst flooding in 50 years. After a 2-session surge, the Hong Kong stock market retreated today on weak services industry data and a weakening yuan. The Hang Seng Index started strongly but closed 1.6% lower. Investors trimmed their portfolios after Caixin's China Services PMI for June came in lower than expected at 53.9. Consumer-related shares edged down, with Nining slumping 4.9% and Haidilao giving up 2.5%. Banking shares tumbled after Goldman Sachs downgraded top Chinese lenders on dividend payout risks. HKIBC and Bank of China dived 1.9% each, while the Agricultural Bank of China lost 2.9%. Elsewhere, Country Garden lost 4.9% on lower property sales last month. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index ended today down by 305 points. Over to the top 10 active stocks. The Tracker Fund lost 29 cents. Tencent was down $3.80, while China Construction Bank was down 9 cents. Alibaba was down by $1.35, while Meituan was down $3.10. The forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, the euro's at 8.51. 1,000 Japanese yen will get you 54 Hong Kong dollars, while the Australian dollar at 5.21. Over in Europe, the London FTSE is currently down 48 points. Finally, the weather. Very hot with isolated showers tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 29 and 33 degrees. The sizzle and the drizzle will continue for the next couple of days. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Wednesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Raymond Yeung. Thanks for watching. Good night.